Now I'd like to introduce Speaker and Honorary Degree recipient Cyrus R. Vance, Jr. Mr. Vance was first sworn in as the District Attorney of New York County on January 1st, 2010. DA Vance has enhanced the District Attorney's Office, making it a national leader in criminal justice by expanding its expertise on an array of 21st century crimes. He has taken a national leadership role in addressing the issue of race in the criminal justice system, and we are honored to have him address the class of 2015. At this time, I would like to invite DA Vance to the podium along with Arthur Abbey, Chairman of our Board of Trustees, who will confer the honorary degree.
District Attorney Vance, for your dedication to the rule of law, your embrace of innovation within the criminal justice system, and for your many achievements, including reorganizing resources of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and creating new specialized bureaus and units, New York Law School is very proud to present you with an honorary degree.
We're going to present this to you and get some pictures.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Anthony. And good afternoon, good evening to all of you, graduates, family, friends, faculty. It's a privilege to be here. And I think tonight we meet here at the intersection of two improbable circumstances. I never imagined I would get an honorary degree from New York Law School. And probably some of you never thought you'd graduate. So thank you, Anthony, for bestowing upon me the honorary degree and for your very kind introduction. My wife, Peggy, is here, and she and I are so happy to be here with you, and especially the class of 2015, to celebrate the end of law school and the beginning of your next great adventures. Above all, congratulations to you. Now, I have to get used to this. After many years as a prosecutor and then as a defense lawyer, you'd think that I would be accustomed to speaking in public, and in one sense that I am. But I can assure you that trying a case in a criminal courtroom is nothing like delivering a speech at Carnegie Hall. I'm accustomed to speaking in courtrooms to an audience of 12 people, occasionally being interrupted by someone yelling, "Objection!" As I prepared my thoughts for talking to you tonight, I worried about what objections you as lawyers might interpose to my speech. What challenges will the future bring, and how will you meet them? Objection, compound question. As Abraham Lincoln once said, objection, hearsay. And perhaps most painfully of all, were I to say, let me share with you my wisdom. Objection. It assumes a fact, not an evidence. But there is one that a judge might sustain, and that is the one I hear you perhaps saying the loudest, and that is objection, relevance. Today, I'd like to take on the question some of you are no doubt asking of our legal system. What is the relevance of your legal education to the world you're about to enter? Now, New York Law School has made heroic efforts to transform legal education to make it relevant to today's world. You have been trained in a broader variety of practical skills than any generation that's come before you. And I have seen the results. My office runs a criminal court clinic with New York Law School. Your classmates have prepared and tried real cases. And let me tell you, their performance has been remarkable. And I will be soon very proud to call several of them colleagues with me at the District Attorney's Office. And so you can be assured that with respect to trial advocacy, with respect to negotiation and client counseling, with respect to mediation and drafting, in all of these areas, your preparation is not just relevant, it is second to none. But your clients and your employers will seek from you one skill above all else as you go forward. They want a lawyer who possesses that intangible called good judgment. All those hours that your professors battered you with questions in Socratic dialogue, and they've trained you to challenge received opinion, to expose unstated assumptions, to expand the range of alternative solutions, and ultimately to reason to principled decisions. Every line of every Hornbook may and likely will become obsolete at some point in your legal careers. But you've learned to think like lawyers, and you will be leaders of change as the law adapts to the issues of your days. I know that you graduate at a time of enormous citizen unrest and eroding faith in the criminal justice system. Many believe that our justice system is racially biased, that if you are a person of color, the scales of justice are not balanced evenly. As a lawyer, my first experience with race and criminal justice occurred over 30 years ago when I began my career as a rookie assistant district attorney here in Manhattan. I spent many lonely hours in arraignment court representing the prosecution in case after case, from the most notorious murders to the most pedestrian petty thefts. But while the crimes were diverse, no thinking person could stand in the well of that court long without noticing that the defendants being arraigned were disproportionately young men of color. Even back then, before the term mass incarceration entered the general conversation, no person with a conscience could stand there for very long without asking, how did this come about? And what can we do about it? That question never left me. The principles that it evoked were clear enough. We are all against crime, and we are all in favor of racial equality. But does our criminal justice system accommodate both? Now, there are two ways I've come to learn that politicians typically deal with such challenges. The first is to take a poll and then do whatever 51% of likely voters in the next primary tell you to do. The other is to appoint a blue ribbon commission with an earnest mandate to report back to you with recommendations sometime after the next election. But I resolved to address this in a different way. I resolved to address it directly the way we are trained to do as lawyers. I felt that any words I offered would carry little weight unless I had first examined our own assumptions and biases. So I invited the Vera Institute of Justice, a well-known New York-based independent and nonpartisan think tank, to analyze in our office to what extent race affected our decisions. And I promised to make those findings public, no matter how good or how bad the results turned out to be. Ultimately, the Vera report had findings that were encouraging to me, but others revealed that race remained a factor in the outcomes in certain of our cases. I concluded that the biggest and most immediate impact we could make on that long docket that I had experienced in arraignment court was to focus on how we handled minor crimes and violations and to divert many of those cases before they ever made it to a courtroom. And so that's what we're doing. In partnership with the police and the Center for Court Innovation, we have started with 16 and 17-year-old first-time arrestees charged with low-level offenses. And if a young man or woman successfully completes a community service program, my office will decline to prosecute the arrest, and neither that young person nor the case will ever enter a courtroom. How far does it go to create a climate of trust if a young person who has done nothing more serious than put his feet on a subway seat receives not a trip downtown and ultimately a docket number in court, but a real intervention in his or her life to put that person on a positive path forward? At the same time, we have to acknowledge that unconscious bias may be playing a role, even unwittingly, in a prosecutor's decision about a case, just as it might play a role in a corporate executive's decision to hire one applicant over another, or a principal's decision in its school to pick one teacher over another to receive the benefits of special training. What I can do as district attorney, and have commenced doing, is to provide all my assistant district attorneys training in what unconscious or implicit bias is, and where and how it might affect the handling of a case in subtle and unconscious ways. And I do so because I firmly believe that the shame here is not in finding out that we have unconscious biases or that our current policies have a disproportionate racial impact. The shame lies in refusing to ask the questions to see if we have problems, and then if we do have them, do something about them. Now, putting issues of bias aside, democracy works only when the citizens get the facts. And there are still corners in our criminal justice system which are secret, and some of them needlessly so. I've presented many cases to many grand juries, and I have come to have a profound admiration of the work the citizens of this country do in reviewing evidence and determining whether or not felony charges should be brought against a defendant. Every day, downtown, grand jurors exercise common sense and conscience in reaching principled decisions. But because the grand jury proceedings remain secret, the public is denied the facts upon which to evaluate either the wisdom of the grand jury's decision or the fairness of the process. Now, in recent months and even in recent days, there have been a wide variety of recommendations about how to reform this grand jury process. And I will be urging our legislature to allow grand juries, in certain cases in which no indictment is voted, to produce more than a one-page document captioned "No True Bill." I will be arguing a change in the law where, in instances where the grand jury process won't be compromised, and with the permission of the supervising court, that prosecutors can release more information about the evidence underlying a grand jury's decision. When I became district attorney, I made a promise to do two things. I promised to do all that I can to make this city safer, and I promised to do all that I can to make the justice system fairer. And I don't think the essential responsibilities of a district attorney can be synthesized any more succinctly. In attempting to make good on those promises, first understanding and then addressing racial bias and inequity is and will be one of my greatest challenges as district attorney, and it may be the measure of my success or failure in this job. You graduate today at a time when many have lost faith in our justice system. The uncertainty about what kind of world is going to emerge from all of this may have you wondering about the relevance of your education here at New York Law School. In a few moments, you'll come to this stage to collect your diploma. Generations of musicians have said that the longest walk in the world is the few steps from the wings of Carnegie Hall to center stage. I'm sure that it's felt like a long journey for you that has brought you to this center stage. I want to assure you this evening that it is worth all of your sacrifice. You have been educated in this community of enduring values for these past 3 or 4 years, and now, today, at last, you disperse, wondering how those values and principles from this place will guide you in the vast, complex, and often unreasoning world beyond. I came today to tell you that the life and practice that awaits you demands an education like the one you received here at New York Law School. And it's not just because many famous and successful lawyers have walked your halls or studied in your classrooms. Nor is it because New York Law School has set before you a roadmap which, if but followed perfectly, will lead to success or fulfillment. In fact, to the contrary, your education here is crucial precisely because there is no roadmap. Thousands of years ago, King Ptolemy, in exasperation, asked of Euclid whether there was not an easier way to learn geometry. And Euclid's answer has endured as long as his postulates. Euclid told the king, "There is no royal road." It has not been a royal road that has taken you to this stage, and there is no royal road to lead you from the great hall here to confront the many urgent challenges for which your skills as lawyers are needed. But it is precisely for this complex and uncertain world this education has trained you. You are tough. You are, after all, as your motto states, coming from New York's law school. You know what hard work is. You know nothing in life is given to you. You have to earn it. No life worth living has ever been traveled as the shortest distance between 2 points. For truly, there is no royal road. Today, you leave this place without a roadmap, but with a compass. You will find within you, from the skills of reasoning that you have developed from this law school, from the values imparted to you by your family and your legal education, honesty, excellence, and commitment to make your community better, the guidance that will orient you toward what is right and what is true, even when you see no familiar landmarks along your way. This is the career for which your education has prepared you. This is the life for which your education has prepared you. It has not been an easy preparation, but neither will life be easy. Any life well lived is going to be a life well tested. I've not often invoked in public the memory of my father, but my constituents have long suspected that since my name is Cyrus R. Vance, Jr., there might be some relation to the former Secretary of State of the same name. In addition to being a cabinet member and diplomat, my dad happened to be a partner in a large and prestigious law firm and a president of the New York City Bar Association. He brought his values, his principles underlying them, and the rigors of his legal reasoning to everything that he did, whether it was counseling a client, advising a president, or guiding his son through life's inevitable challenges and frustrations. There's one particular piece of advice he gave I'd like to leave you with as you start your careers as counselors in law. At a crucial crossroads for our country, and in my father's career as Secretary of State, he advised a president who was faced with a stark choice of options. In the midst of the greatest international crisis of his presidency, should the United States seek a diplomatic solution or a military one? My father believed passionately that a diplomatic solution could succeed, and where diplomacy can bring a peaceful solution, there is no justification for war. Others in the administration felt just as passionately the other way, and perhaps tipping the scales was the fact that the president faced a looming re-election campaign. In any event, the president decided to ignore my father's advice, and he ordered a military operation to rescue American hostages being held in Tehran. That rescue operation failed. Now, in advance of that raid, my father told the president that respectfully, whatever the result, whether tragic failure or glorious success, he would resign from office the next day. And my father was true to his word. My father will be remembered for many accomplishments, but not one of them is more important than his devotion to core values and principle. Your path may take you to the White House or to the State Department. You may counsel in a law office or in a legal department. Your advice may affect the fate of one person or the fate of hundreds of thousands. But today, you carry with you the confidence of your mentors, your families, and myself that you are men and women of principle. Starting from today, you are lawyers. Congratulations.